Okay. Hi, welcome to the Comic Binge. I am your host, maybe main host. Well, main host today, I should say, because Chris isn't here because he sucks. Just kidding. I love Chris. Love you, Chris. Today, we are talking about the Sentry and getting people prepared for this little movie called The Thunderbolts that is coming out this weekend, which I almost feel it's flying under the radar, but I am extremely excited for this movie. So I'm so excited that I almost forgot to prep for this movie and help other people prep for this movie that I needed to get something in. And I almost forgot and found something that I haven't read, which I'm embarrassed to think that I haven't read this before, which is The Sentry, the introductory miniseries for the Golden Guardian. So we're going to break down this, and I almost forgot. When I have my co-host here, I'm going to try to put all the issues we read in this comics episode. But anyway, we're going to talk about the Sentry. We're going to talk about a little bit the history and what this series meant to do, and also what its legacy is for what it did later on for the Sentry and in Marvel Comics. So without further ado, before we get started, please go subscribe to the Comic Binge if you haven't already. Like the video, all that crap, because it helps people discover the Comic Binge, and I want people to talk about comic books and hear us talk about comic books. So if you haven't, please do. And without further ado, my friend and co-host today, Zach.
Hello.
Z-Man. Hello, you're back.
I'm back.
You know, I realized... Yeah, is it third time?
Yeah.
Awesome. I was telling Zach, I was thinking about this episode, and I was thinking, who should I get on this episode? And for whatever reason, I thought, Zach. I don't know why. I just did. And I go... I'm just going to peek behind the curtain a little bit. I go, Zach, have you read this before? You go, yeah, I didn't like it. I was like, oh. But I was like, do you want to read it again and just come on the show? And you did. I was like, hell yeah. So kudos to Zach for giving it another go. I have no idea if he still doesn't like it. So that's exciting to talk about.
Get into it. We'll get into it.
So, but just the fact that he's willing to do this for me, it means a lot. So thank you, Zach, for doing this.
No problem. No, I'm happy to. I love, you know me, I actually fucking love talking comics. So
hell yeah. So, and also, I realized this is like the second MCU Required Reading we did, because you did the Adam Warlock show, so which is awesome. I know
was a passion project for me.
And I'm glad that you did it, because I really wanted to, talk about Adam Warlock. Which you still haven't seen Guardians Volume 3, still, right?
I haven't. No. Yeah.
Bro, you need to see it. It's good, and it's Adam Warlock's not the same Adam Warlock. Right. I will say, but it's still fun. It's still good. Yeah. So go check it out. So.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're going to talk about the Sentry, and I guess I know you're the biggest MCU person right now. Are you have any interest of watching Thunderbolts at all?
Yeah, I mean this one out of like the current phase, like I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, it's legit. Yeah,
I liked Florence Pugh's character in like Black Widow. It was like. The stuff I liked a lot, but there's a lot of stuff I didn't really love in it. It's like a 3 out of 5, 3 stars.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah,
it's all right. Yeah, but I thought Florence Pugh was really good
so
in that. So like her character, that's cool. And then the only bummer is like I love the OG concept of the Thunderbolts so much that like
me too.
I wish it was that. Like I was like, man, because they have so many villains. It's like they could
Zemo.
Yeah, exactly. They could easily put that together. Like, put fucking Michael Keaton Vulture, and you know what I mean? Just
oh, dude,
that would be so awesome.
Okay, well,
if he was like the Fixer guy in that, like, if
Fixer. Dude, I didn't think about that. He's the Fixer character.
The Beetle.
Beetle, and because you also have the Tinkerer. He could have been in there too, right? Doing all those things, and then you have Baron Zemo, which come on, I mean that would have been. You're right, and then Abomination you could have put in for Atlas.
Oh, totally.
I mean, I do wish Songbird was in it. Like, I'm a big, Songbird's like legit. Like, I even proposed this back in the day when Secret Invasion, before that hot mess. Don't avoid that SH. Yeah, Javi's my boy.
Shout out Javi.
Yeah, there you go. Hobby rules.
James Bond too, so I'm right there with you.
Oh man, he don't say that too loud. He might have you on his show soon. So, Javi, I helping you out.
I've seen every movie. I've read 90% of the books. So,
holy f, dude. Yeah, all right. This is not a James Bond show. All right, Javi, get the hell out of here. No, but like, but I remember what's her name? God, the chick from Game of Thrones who's in Secret Invasion. I can't. I'm so bad with their names. Help me out, people.
I'm bad with Game of Thrones.
So Khaleesi, whatever her name is. Word. Oh, jeez, I knew it. Okay. Yeah. All right, Javi. Let's put it back in your pants now. All right.
Javi, how do you talk about On Her Majesty's Secret Service, bro?
Yeah. Okay.
Moonraker's tight too.
Okay. Anyway, the chick whatever her name is, she's great in Solo too. By the way, I forgot her name. Someone help me out. I'm so bad with names. I proposed she could be Songbird.
Okay.
I was like maybe Dark Horse, but then she would end up being not Songbird, which sucked. So, anyway,
Songbird's tight. I just read Avengers Forever not that long ago.
Hell yeah, really dude!
Good. It's a great character in that. So,
dude, Avengers Forever I did a big episode on it back in the day when Kang was going to be the main bad guy, and I just rave about that comic. That comic is so effing good.
It's awesome.
It's ridiculous. So anyway, so Thunderbolts, right. for those who don't know, Thunderbolts is obviously the Baron Zemo. It's totally different what we get from the MCU. It's a bunch of villains that are masquerading as heroes. Citizen V.
And this is during like Heroes Reborn time. Yeah, so like the main Avengers are all like gone. It's like after Onslaught, right? Like, isn't that the?
Yeah, it's post Onslaught. Yeah, when they're in their pocket universe, whatever. Emilia Clarke. Thank you. I'm so bad. I'm terrible with names.
I should have known that.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like so stupid. So anyway, so like this happens, and obviously Thunderbolts goes through like more through different things. Like Hawkeye joins a team at some point and becomes like leads a team, and I've read. I don't think I've read all the Hawkeye stuff. I've read Fabian Naiz's run, which is actually pretty good, to be honest. I think it's pretty good.
Miniseries.
It's a mini. It comes off like it becomes like New Thunderbolts. And then it offshoots back into the main series.
It's weird. Sorry.
Oh no! Like that, I think Busick. I want to say Busick's still writing it at that point. I think I could be wrong.
He wrote it for like a while.
He wrote for a long time. So and then, but then Warren Ellis takes over, which I think, again, we talked about gaming before. Warren Ellis, never
my guy. I gotta be honest. Like, I'm not trying to the bandwagon or like the hate wagon, but like we can get into this when we start talking about the Sentry more, but there's British writers and then there's British writers. If you know what I mean? Like,
it's fair.
And it's kind of like, I don't know that everybody has this, because there's certain ones that I'm like, okay, this guy is like a genius, or whatever. And then there's other guys that are like, it's all flash and no substance, and it's all kind of like how nasty can you be, and like how like fucked up can you be, and like I'm never gonna like one of those guys nearly.
That's fair. I will say this, okay, because I totally know what you're talking about, and even in the run of Thunderbolts, like I know exactly a couple points where I'm like, yeah, he's trying to be grotesque at a couple points, and like and all over sexualize things, which again, that's his thing. But that being said, I reviewed it for post Falcon Winter Soldier, and his Thunderbolts run is freaking good.
Usually those guys have a legit run in them somewhere, you know what I mean? Like,
for sure, yeah.
But because otherwise they wouldn't get where they were.
Yeah.
Their main, like, I never liked Warren Ellis James. I can't even imagine that, bro.
Is that legit, Javi?
I'm sure it is.
Javi wouldn't lie to me. Javi, I love Javi too much to lie to me. So Thunderbolts, so the iteration we're getting is not, it's kind of like a weird mix of like different things. Go ahead.
I feel like it's like MCU Suicide Squad, right? Like they're taking all the misfits and like the kind of like the bad boys and the anti-heroes and putting them all together, and then like they have to do a dirty mission that's like not,
I don't know. See, that's this is where it's I feel it's lazy, not saying like what you're saying is lazy, but I feel like in general it's lazy to say this because I don't know. I am avoiding spoilers.
Mhm.
Knowing what we know about this, I don't know the Sentry, which by the way this is free promotion for the whole 4 people to watch for Funko. Look at this Funko Sentry. It looks so legit. Like,
It's a good
and the
sculpt.
reason, yeah, like the reason why we're doing the show on the Sentry and not the Thunderbolts is because he's basically, from all intents and purposes, the antagonist of the movie. And so from what I understand, I don't know if it's like I don't know how they're all together. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if it is based upon.
I'm basing this on the stuff that I did see, like
Right.
Falcon Soldier, it has the U.S. agent character, or Black Widow has the Red Guardian, like David Harbour character.
Yeah.
It shows Julia Louis-Dreyfus as the
right.
Contessa from the old S.H.I.E.L.D. comics. And
Yeah,
like,
so rad.
So yeah, which is like dope to me. Like,
yeah.
I'm a huge fan of like 60s.
Hell yeah, dude.
But even this
Ranko,
so awesome. But anyway, so it's like when you see her recruiting them all, like clandestine kind of, it's like it just gave me that's the vibe it gave me, even though that is kind of like the easy read on it, like
yeah.
Like, I think to any normal kind of movie fan, they're going to be like, oh, it's like the MCU,
right?
Yeah,
that's fair, and that's fair. The only thing I'm going to push back on, and even like my partner in crime on the MCU fan show, Sean, was like, well, it's kind of you're splitting hairs here. I'm like, well, no, hold on. I'm like, because I don't know. I avoid spoilers, so I have no idea. I want to say it's a little different because in this instance specifically too, because we don't know with the Avengers being gone if there's a power vacuum, and I wonder if Vanessa Valentina is trying to bridge that gap. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, so I have no idea. That's kind of the impression I get, especially with Dark Avengers being a thing, like that whole idea of like, Bennett stuff, which again, Dark Avengers is very, very good, by the way.
Is that is that going to be a movie, or are you just talking about the comic?
The comic, but it's also, I think that's kind of where they're headed. I think with Thunderbolts, I could be wrong. So anyway, but so I was thinking about, all this, we could, I thought we could talk about this, but the Sentry being, again, as far as I know, the movie, he's a big part of the comic or of the movie. And I'm pretty sure he's the antagonist in one way or another, which we'll get into that as well. We're going to try and not spoil as much as I can, but there's a major spoiler in this we have to talk about. So just,
spoilers for a 20-year-old comic.
Yeah. But if you know anything about the Sentry, you already know it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So for those who don't know, just know, like, there's going to be a major spoiler in this. But that's the only thing I want to spoil. Everything else we're going to try to be as much as we can, because I'm not a big spoiler person. Yeah. But again, if you know anything about the Sentry, you already know this. So you've been warned. Moving on. So Zach, you kind of, I was out of comics when the Sentry was introduced. I think you were still in this realm at this point, early 2000s.
I was transitioning from Marvel, DC to pretty much mostly like indie underground stuff at that point, but I was still reading Wizard at that point, and I was still in it like a little bit.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Wizard was great for that too, by the way.
Do other shit.
Yeah. Wizard, really quick, Wizard was great because when I'd pick up a Wizard magazine sometimes and not read comics just to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I did.
I mean, it's very like of its time, but it was like a really entertaining, fun magazine to get as a comics fan, because it really kept you updated on like everything. It really gave you like a solid grounding in comics, like, and it was easy to get. It was at the grocery store. It was at 7-Eleven. It was like everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was a good way to like know what the hell your hobby is.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly. So. And so I wanted, so tell us what transpired, because it was kind of a crazy, what they did. So go ahead and explain what Wizard did.
as best as it's funny. I should have actually like researched this a little.
I
bit
should have too. So I totally get. If we can kind of probably, but
yeah.
You go ahead and lead it
I'll
off.
say my memory of it, because I was going to say they do like cover this in the back of this collection. Like it does go through it, but it was pretty interesting to see how it played out, because they kind of, and this is something they do. I did see this in the back matter of the Sentry book, is like it's basically really similar to Blair Witch Project, which was only a couple years before. Like they dropped these little hints, and made it's like the idea is that the Sentry is like a lost character from the early days of Marvel, and to make that seem real, they planted, planted, not like it was supposed to be like a fun trick on the readers. It's not like they were like really like scamming.
Yeah.
They planted like, oh, was there actually like a character that was supposed to be published before Fantastic Four 1? Because Fantastic Four 1 is supposed to be like, as everybody knows, it's like the beginning of what we know in the Marvel Universe. It's like 1961. Yeah. That's when we go from doing monster comics to superhero comics, basically. Yeah. And so this was the idea, was like, was there actually supposed to be another comic before that? And then they had another article following that. Like, there was an interview with Stan Lee, and he was like, oh yeah, I can't really remember. Like maybe, it's like Stan Lee, like, I don't know, True Believers. I'm sure might have written a comic. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Then they had a fake artist for it who was supposed to have died. And so like couldn't interview him or couldn't check the original art. And then it was like a series of 3. It was basically like, was there this thing? And like, oh, there's this artist who died. And then finally it was like, it was a real comic. It was the Sentry. It was supposed to be like, a Superman type character, basically.
Right.
Thing. And so, yeah, it was like, it was all rolled out like that, just like Blair Witch. Like, is this real? Is this fake? And it was only once I think probably once people got issue, I don't know when they would have like known exactly, but like maybe if you're reading issue 1, because you can tell, even though like the page that you're showing, it has like a recreation of like a 60s thing, you can tell that it's recreated from like the lettering and everything. So I don't know if it would have tricked anyone by the time that the first issue came out. I think it would have only been in like the run up to the miniseries coming out. People would have. But anyway, that was like their conceit, is like, this is a lost character from the 60s, and like we're gonna bring him back.
Yeah, and so I was out of comics completely when this got revealed. So and it was one of those things where I got back into comics because I was working at a contact center for a bank. Rest in peace, Washington Mutual. And I was buying graphic novels again to just kind of pass the time and just kind of whatever. And because I'm like, single issues is too crazy. I can't get back into this stuff. And I started buying graphic novels, and all it took was one. And this kind of leads me down the Sentry hole, so you'll get what I'm saying here. I was buying comics at Dream Strands Comics in Seattle, which is leaving Seattle. Let's go Port Orchard. I always forget what it's called. Whatever it is. Port Orchard. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So Gabe, good luck. Different Gabe, Zach, our old comic store Gabe. Good luck over there. But anyway, I go to Dream Strands Comics after going to Gordito's, and I buy comic books, and I look over, I go, what the hell? And I looked and saw this. It was New Avengers issue 1, or trade, I should say, the trade of first 6 issues with New Avengers. And I'm like, Spider-Man's in the Avengers? What the hell? Like, I immediately got like perked my interest, and they had 2 extra issues. They had issues 1 through 5, I believe, and then it had issues. He had single issues of like whatever, and then there was a jumping on point for Spider-Man for the other, which is a whole different thing, by the way. And I was like, fuck. I was like, all right, they got me. All right, I'm gonna jump in, and I'm like, okay, I'm looking at this, right? I meant to add these pages in here. So I'm looking at this. I'm reading this comic. I'm like, so who the hell are these characters? I'm like, or who's all in the Avengers, right? Like, okay, whatever. Haha, this is gonna be fun. And I'm going through. I'm like, Spider-Woman's back, like the original Spider-Woman, like Jessica Drew. Like I remember her. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, it's not Julia Carpenter anymore. I'm like getting on my mind blown from all this. I'm like, see Wolverine. I'm like, what the hell? Like, that still always irks me to this day. But
I was gonna say, I don't want to like harsh or mellow, but I don't like the idea of Wolverine or if I'm being honest, I don't even really like Spider-Man as an event.
Really? I'll push back on that. I'll push because I like.
That's just my opinion.
Was that?
It's just my opinion.
Well, no, Spider-Man it works better for me, but here's the thing: you got to remember that Brian Bendis' pitch for New Avengers was always the JLA version of Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
That was always like the biggest budget
JLA, where it's like bring back the 7.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like he wanted to bring in the heaviest hitters of Marvel and put them all under one book. That's the only reason why Wolverine's there. Otherwise, I'd be like, get the F out. So that's just me. So I'm reading the book, right? I'm reading the trade, and David Finch's art is great. I love it. I'm getting excited. And then I'm like, so who the F is this mother effer? Like who? The Sentry? Huh? And I'm like, huh? And I keep reading. I'm like, this dude just like, what? Who is this guy? He's interesting. What is all this? I have no idea who this is. And I keep reading. If you know what happens later in the issues, you're like, huh? I've been reading Marvel for years, Zach. I'm like, who the hell is the Sentry?
Fair.
So it wasn't, we'll get into that later, but this is my introduction to the Sentry. I have no idea who this character is.
Weird.
And so finally, and that's why I was saying, like, I never read this because I all learned who the Sentry was through New Avengers, and it is and other stuff we'll get into later. But so I never read this. So I got to know the origin of this, or majority of the origin of the Sentry, which is a whole different thing too. Through minus this thing. So I knew Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee because of Paul Jenkins had wrote a lot of early 2000s, mid 2000s comics for Marvel and whatnot. And Jay Lee, obviously, I've known for many, many years. Great artist. Yes. But they did Inhumans together, which is fantastic. I love Inhumans. And this I've never read. And I'm like, with the Sentry, the movie coming out, I figured it's time to give the Golden Guardian his due and read this damn story, which is issues 1 through 5, which is really weird. Issues 1 through 5, but it's also a bunch of random one-shots.
And then you have to read because 1 through 5 doesn't have the complete story.
Yeah. And also the Sentry versus the Void.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Like, why don't you put all the... God, still understand comic people sometimes, man.
That's the point I had.
Oh, God. Anyway, if you're wondering what we read, it's Sentry's issues 1 through 5. The Sentry with the X-Men. If you put Sentry, X-Men, Sentry, Spider-Man, Sentry, Fantastic Four, Sentry, Hulk, and then for whatever stupid effing reason, Sentry versus the Void. I don't get it.
Why is one called Sentry number 6 or something? I don't
know. Get it. So frustrated. I wish someone could explain to me. So, Zach, you've already told me, what you thought about this originally. You read this back in the day. I have read it for the first time. I'm dying to know if this was any better this time.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like, I like the idea. I like the concept of it. Like it's, that's a very, cause I'm a big Alan Moore fan, and that feels very much in line with his kind of stuff. We talked a little bit before the show started about how the beginning of this Sentry number 1 feels extremely similar to me to Miracle Man number 1. Like if you read I think even if you read the Eclipse version or the Marvel reprints, whatever the first issue is, it's like very, very similar, where it's like a guy who's like, he's like a schlub, regular dude. He's kind of overweight, he's just like coded as he kind of sucks. And then he like, the layers of his mind, get peeled away, and he realizes that he has this glorious life as a superhero.
Yeah.
Which is a good story. I'm not opposed to using that again. Like, I think that's totally fine. There's definitely things. The thing with this to me is there's a lot of individual pieces about it that I like. Yeah. I just, for whatever reason, what it all adds up to, I don't really love. And
exactly.
The hardest part for me is that like all the parts when like the characters that we do actually know and have known for years are talking about like, oh, my old buddy, the Sentry, what a great guy. You're like, what the hell are you talking about? Who the hell is this guy? You know,
Yeah.
like you just don't have any, when you're first reading it, you don't have any history with this character. So it feels very like forced to try to make it like, oh no, he was always there. And I don't think this is like, I don't know. It depends. Like, it really depends on how you want to look at the editorial side of it. Cause a part of me is like, did they just want to like force a Superman character into the Marvel universe? And like, this is like kind of like the way to like stealth do it. But even that is kind of doesn't make that much sense because there already are a bunch of Superman analogs in the history of Marvel universe.
Hyperion. Yeah.
Hyperion, Omega the Unknown.
Omega. Yeah.
Even like Gladiator from
Shire. Yeah.
Imperial Guard. Like any of those characters are kind of, you could even argue like the Hulk in a way because he's the guy who fought Man in the DC versus Marvel team up, or face off.
Fight.
Yeah, but anyway, like so there's pieces I like. Like I like the art. I like just there's characters that he gets really. I like the whole Hulk thing. Like I think that's a fun like detour that it has. Like you can get into that at a whatever, but like even the Hulk issue with the like Bill Sienkiewicz art is like really amazing. There's stuff I like in it, but yeah, I don't know. There's just pieces of it where it's just like it doesn't quite add up to like a satisfying whole for me.
I think you nailed it actually, because I'm exactly in the same boat. I will say that I realized I was reading it, I'm like, I'm actually getting kind of into this. So when you told me you didn't like it, I'm like, okay, maybe it's dog shit. I don't know.
It's not dog shit.
It's not dog shit. No, I wouldn't. I would. We'll get into. I'll explain here. But I'm reading it, but I definitely got that vibe of Miracle Man. And but not in an exact way either. Like the same way. It was. Yeah. I will say there's some cool and kind of cool inspired ideas here. I don't hate the idea. Okay, let me backtrack a little bit. It definitely rubs me the wrong way a little bit when you do the whole like we didn't do this guy the whole time, but like what happened? Like that is annoying. But Jenkins, I thought, did a decent job of it considering. And I will say what annoyed me was the biggest thing I have annoyance of was the fact that Bob and Reed are supposed to be best friends. What the F? Like that seemed forced to me.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's the worst part. That's the part that feels the flimsiest. I'm like, what are you talking about?
They can be buddies, right? Like that's not like that's legit, right? Yeah. But the fact they're they go out of the way to say, "Oh, he's my best friend." I'm like, come on, like
Grimm's best friend. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like shut the F up, like yeah, exactly. Like that's just
why didn't he take him on the damn jet or the space shuttle?
Right? Yeah, right. So anyway, like that was probably the worst aspect of it for me. Everything else I could kind of get behind because well, because there's a couple things here that I'm also wondering that if this is like also the segue into One More Day, Brand New Day era, because who helps them all forget who the Sentry is? Doctor Strange. So I'm like, oh, like okay, like this is where Quesada got his idea maybe from.
That even seems like similar to like the MCU Doctor Strange and like in the No Way Home, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's what Brian. Yeah, that's what Brand New Day was. That's what borrowed from was Brand New Day because that's what they did to bring his. After he revealed himself in Civil War, he brought in that thing, and so like, and then Doctor Strange was like, "All those make everyone forget," blah blah blah, and then like, blah, 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 and so that was. Doctor Strange seemed like a device, more than anything. But I did like the fact. I wish they would. There's lots of great things here that Paul Jenkins, and I think it's weird because I've read a lot of Paul Jenkins stuff, but not a ton, but a decent amount. And he's not a bad writer. It's kind of weird that he's just kind of Marvel just fell out of favor with him or whatever, and he just got banished basically.
Yeah, it's interesting because he also wrote Wolverine Origin, right?
No, that's no, you're right. Yeah, I'm thinking of Old Man Logan. Yeah, he did write with an beautiful Andy Kubert art. Yeah, he was like the poster boy, and then Bendis took that over. And not. I know I like Bendis more than you, but
no, I was just thinking like more of like oh that's what happened. Not
like, sorry, yeah. No, that is in Bendis, and then he slowly kind of like got less work after because I was reading Civil War that era. Jenkins was still around writing stuff, but then he slowly like was like being like phased out, and you see like the Brewbakers and the Fractions and all those guys started coming in, and
It's
then
weird.
he just
because he's a British writer, you'd think that like it seemed like at the time he was kind of like Marvel was like, oh, we found like our Neil Gaiman, you know, whatever, like our Wordless or Peter Milligan, whoever.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
He always had like so many of those guys. Like they snapped up all those British guys, and so Marvel, like, you know, they kind of like ruined it with Alan. They had Alan Moore at the beginning, but they kind of screwed that up, and then
they did.
You know, they never really got like, there's a few, I guess, like Simon Furman and stuff like that, but they weren't like Paul Jenkins was like, this is like an ex Hellblazer guy. This seems like, okay, we got our British guy, but then he just kind of disappeared, and now I would say it's like Al Ewing is like the de facto.
Yeah,
you know,
Ewing's a goat
he's
now,
awesome.
dude. He's freaking amazing. I keep reading Mortal Hulk, dude. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. So reading this was, you know, it was interesting. I will say I did not. The miniseries really ruined it a little bit for me, to be honest. Like, not all of them, obviously, because some of them are dope AF. But
you're talking about the team up issues?
Yeah, team up issues were kind of like not my thing. Like, I
like the Hulk one.
Oh, dude, the Hulk one. That's the best one.
Yeah,
you know, in my opinion. But you know, you got the Spider-Man one was okay. It's kind of weird. It's just kind of weird though. It's like it doesn't really have like a story really. It's just kind of like, well, it's like a plot, I should say.
That one's kind of, see, that's the problem too, is like, I think the Void as the villain, it's a little bit hard to buy into the idea that this is the greatest threat the universe has ever known, when it's kind of like, well, what about Thanos? What about Galactus? What about a bazillion Marvel? Like, what about freaking Mephisto? You know, if you want to talk about somebody who like causes despair, and then they have that guy Despair too. You know, it's like it's not like this shit has never been done. So why is it acting like this is the worst thing we've ever faced? You know, so it's a little
Despair.
Bit, you know,
rules.
Yeah,
I love it. That's a deep cut, dude. You just blew my mind with that one. Adam, babe. Matlow. That's Matlow, right? So I mean, I think he created him, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember him from like that post Phoenix Saga issue of X-Men with.
Oh, dude, he's in that.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
It's like when Cyclops is gonna leave, I want to say.
Oh,
but it's like somewhere around there.
We should do one day, like in the future, like when we're less busy or whatever, which will be 40 years from now. But like one day we should do a Mantlo cast on the binge. We'll just do all the Mantlo shit, dude. For better, for worse.
Talk. I want to do some deep Micronauts talk,
dude. Oh, I forgot it's Micronauts. I've never been a Micronauts guy. Golden, I know, is the GOAT, but like, I can't get it. I can't get behind the premise. I just can't get behind it.
It's just space fun. It's just like some cool adventurers in space. How is that?
It's because like they're small. I don't. It bothers me for some reason. I don't know. I can't explain it, Zach. I understand. I know it's weird.
Ant-Man, you don't have a problem with that.
What's different?
A small guy.
I don't make sense. Okay, I'm not saying I don't make sense. I'm admitting. Hello, AJ. So anyway, so really quick. So let's just talk to elephant in the room real quick. So let me just put a little bow on this a little bit with mine. We'll get into more of the highs and lows. I recommend people read this a little bit. And if you're really curious about the Sentry, if you're really curious, read this.
If you like the design of the Sentry, or if you just like the idea, or what, you know, like a Marvel Superman with a dark side, then like definitely check it out. I don't think, like, if you're interested in it, I don't think it would be like you know what I mean? It's just we'll get into why it's a little weird in a second, but this again, for those who don't know, I just want to say it right now. This is exactly what you think it is. The Void is a Sentry. Sentry is the Void. I mean, if you see that cover, you get
it, right? Yeah. What's hard for me is still, as a Sentry fan, to understand like how exactly that works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, because they don't really show it to you in the book, really.
I think that's another point I would say.
Go ahead. Go on. Yeah. Go ahead. And
Yeah, it's just like they need to show. It needs to have more of the, like, if it was an Alan Moore comic, he would spend a lot of time like showing like from the point of view of the Void, and like
sure,
he would have his own like internal monologue, and you'd see horrible stuff that he did. You know, it would just make more sense. Like this way, you kind of only get it from the Sentry's point of view, and everyone spends so much time talking about it, and like he's the best guy ever and all this stuff. So it doesn't really give you the full like 360 view that you need to kind of pull off this thing.
Yeah,
it's like dark side, because you don't see that much of his dark side really. Like it's only a couple times, you know, and I think you could really like lay that in throughout the whole thing more, and it would be more successful. Like it still works. He does enough of it, but I think
right. But he doesn't do enough. But he doesn't do enough to really get you. Yeah, because like there's a part in the towards the end, I think in the Sentry versus the Void, they talk like it shows like him like almost like two separate people, but then it shows him as one.
Yeah,
and it's like it's just hard. It's just like it. I get what they're doing. Like, I'm not the brightest guy in the world by any means, but I'm not, I'm not stupid. But at the same time, I'm like, it is still a little like, well, what the hell? It's not consistent. That's the problem, right? So that was my major issue with it, and it doesn't. And to be honest, as a Sentry fan, it doesn't get any easier. Like that's the problem with it. I mean, it gets. Well, I'll take it back. It gets a little easier once Bendis kind of starts kind of molding the character a little more, which I'll get to that in a second. But that was definitely a problem of the story. It almost felt like it felt like they had this great idea, but then they're like, wait, how do we execute this completely? Wait a minute, because there's really cool. They introduced like the clock, the watchtower. I mean, this is pretty rad shit, man. Like, I like
clock. Like that's just a good kind of a good like computer character like that. Then you're like, oh, you kind of feel bad for him because he's like stuck dealing, like he has to just like his programming in this lonely like tower, and nobody like, that's a good way to build pathos for like a so it's like, I like, there's, like I said, like there's little corners of it that I'm like, oh, that's like a cool idea. That's a fun, it's a good idea.
So I would be remiss to not mention, because of Zach here, who's saying what's up, that he reminded me or told me that the art, that the throwback art that we get from the Sentry comic. Do you know who the artist is by chance? Sal Buscema.
No way.
Hell yeah, dude. The goat, one of the goats, himself. So I know. I do word right. I thought like Jake, he can draw the shit out of it, really yeah, he can draw some vintage characters.
Yeah,
but it makes more sense knowing it's Sal, because it totally looks like vintage, right? Perfect.
It's very Kirby-ish,
Yeah, word. Yeah, and like, dude, and that's what obviously both his brother and Sal did. They were like Kirby clones for a while. That was the house. Let's see here. That's a good question. I don't know. They'll
find somebody to nerf him, dude.
Listen, I will tell you that. Put a pin in that Doom story in a second, because we'll go. Yeah. So anyway, there's the weird thing is, Zach, I'm curious. And maybe I misread. I didn't remember reading it. And this happens a lot when you're ADHD. Even if I take medication, I still don't process everything I'm reading. I have to read it like a million times. Tell me, did they explain the origin and how he got Clock and how he got because the Watchtower just kind of shows up? I don't remember.
They don't really talk about it other than like, it's just kind of, it's almost like you have to already know a kind of like Superman framework where he would have the Fortress of Solitude and like a bunch of Superman robots and shit. It was just kind of presented as like, oh yeah, of course this superhero of this stature would have this layer. And
that makes sense. Okay, that's what I interpreted it as. But I'm like, but also even the origin of the Sentry, I'm like, what happened? Like they don't even explain the Sentry origin really, like how he becomes Sentry.
I think it's in the first issue. They kind of talk about how he drank some serum.
Yeah, it was a serum, right? Yeah, that's the only thing I know of. And then he was like, "I became the Golden God."
Yeah, they talk about it briefly, but it's like that's another thing is like it's it's obviously like a metaphor for addiction, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know if
But he doesn't really go into it.
I don't know if I feel like that metaphor was like thoroughly what do you call it? Like explored, you know, like I feel like there's more that you could do with that was kind of left on the cutting room floor or something.
Well, so I'm gonna follow up with that really quickly. How weird was this, by the way? Like I'm reading I'm like, what the Kingpin just getting like rammed by some freaking weird like tentacle from the void, who's just, I mean, he's just sitting there, like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's so, this Spider-Man comic was so odd,
you
know, like just odd. So I
thought the X-Men one was odd too. Like, why exactly is it just Angel? Like,
right, dude?
Like, I don't know.
Weird. It's just weird. I'm just like,
X-Men, yeah, it's pretty much just Angel, which is fine, I guess. Like,
right.
Another, you know, really good art in that one too. Mark Teixeira.
Oh, dude, that dude's friggin', he's amazing. Yeah, look at this, dude.
Yeah, painted art is like, I love looking at it. It's great.
Yeah, dude, the X-Men issue was passable just because it was, dude. This is, by the way, I'm a sucker for give me the side profile and like a bunch of images. Oh, dude, I could do this all day. Oh, dude, I think this is really random. Is this guy that I'm gonna sell out and say it. He's never gonna watch this. He wanted me to write a comic, like help write him he's doing like his own like universe. This is like 10 years ago now. He was like before he had Lulu. And he was like, oh, I want you to like write the side character. I'm like, oh, and like I was writing like a 5-page thing, and I remember I wrote like a layout of like something exactly like this. I'm like, this is like so badass. I love when they do this. I do. I love it. It's amazing. It's good. It's Mark Teixeira is badass. So anyway, I just wanted to say that this is totally like not my original idea I have at all, and I still love it. It's amazing. So anyway, but yeah, like it was weird. So anyway, back to what you were talking about with the addiction thing. I hate to say it, I went on Marvel Wiki, like not the official one, but the real one. We all know which one. Yeah. Word. No. It's Marvel Wiki. It's the Marvel version. It's like got 500,000 segments, whatever it is. It's legit. And I'm like, I just happened to look. So I was looking for appearances, and I'll get to that in a second too. Because I'm like, where did he come? What happens after Sentry versus the Void? When does he first appear? And so I
have no idea. I'm like, how did he like become a regular?
Oh, I'll get it.
Think about something that doesn't quite work for me about this, and I just remembered.
yeah. Save that when I'm done with this, and then we'll move on to what happens to Sentry afterwards. So, so you're onto something, Zach, because the addiction thing I didn't really pick up on because I'm a big doy, because you're on the money, because later on in the New Avengers, Bendis introduces like a new kind of altered version where he's addicted, he's an addict. And he takes the serum out of addiction, and that's how he becomes Sentry.
Okay.
And that's why the Void exists, because there's like the addiction side and there's like the good side of the character, which again, it's all there. But I didn't. I'm like, wait, what is the origin? I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So you're actually on the, without even knowing you were on the money.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, you're like, oh hell yeah, vindication. All right, so what were you gonna say? Like an issue you had, a problem?
Oh shit! Now what was it?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No. So okay, well, one thing that was like kind of a problem. I think there's a lot of stuff in this that is telling you versus showing you, and I think with storytelling, this happens a lot in modern movies too. Like they'll talk about like how these characters are supposed to like, oh, well, we were best friends in 4th grade, and you don't see that, they're just saying. And so that it's kind of a problem with this is like they talk a lot of, like in the Fantastic Four team up issue, I think is a good
issue's bad.
It's pretty rough. Like
it's rough.
They're supposed to be this like real bonding thing where they're getting through like I can't remember, some kind of satellite or something that has all these
it's bad.
It's supposed to be like an Indiana Jones meets Star Wars kind of like, oh, these they're going on this crazy adventure, and like there's all these things that are working against him, but they're like in the zone, they're in this flow state, and they're like, and they talk about it like you're supposed to be so charmed by it, but doing it as like a montage that's just over a couple of pages and then telling you how you're supposed to feel about it in the box, in like the text boxes, just like it doesn't work. Like the only way that you could do that, I think, in like a single issue is if you made the entire thing that sequence. If you took, if it was like the whole thing was just the sequence of them getting through all these obstacles and traps, and then maybe you like explain the story with dialogue, like the greater story of like why they're in this in the first place, you know, that kind of thing. If you did it, like if you started that in media res, like you start in the middle and kind of go back, expand that to the whole thing, I think it could have worked that way. And I get the idea of like, it's a good idea. You know, I couldn't say I wouldn't try to do the same thing, but it just struck me as like, yeah, I'm not feeling about this how it's telling me to feel, you know? And that was, that's kind of a problem with it sometimes, is like, the way I can tell what it wants me to, what the story and the issues want me to feel about something, but I don't necessarily feel like it's delivering the goods to just organically feel that way. Like it feels a little manufactured.
Yeah, it's crazy because you're right, and I think you actually touched on this, and I agree with this. But I think I think you would agree that they do that though with another character in the book, which is great. Which is, I think, one of the strongest parts is the Hulk. Yeah. I absolutely love the relationship between the Hulk and Sentry. Straight up, like I think it's legit. I remember
a cool idea. Like that is like a good, and like having the thing of like
the light.
Oh, yeah, the light, and but even those little details of like, oh, issue 7 of the Hulk was a team up issue with the Sentry, and like everybody knows that the original Hulk series only had 6 issues.
Yeah, and then goes into Tales of Astonish.
That's like, that ties into the real world in like a meta way so perfectly. Like I was like, that's a fucking cool idea. And just the Hulk is like, to me, it's like he has to be, you know, he's got to be like a monster and whatever, but you love it when gets to have a little fun or be like have a buddy or something like that. You know, it's like you can only do it a little bit, but when they get it right, and I think they did get it right in that issue, it's like it's so fun. So
yeah, the Sienkiewicz stuff is so good. Yeah, I mean, like it's crazy. Like I'm like, oh yeah, this is a like, it's basically just like recapping, kind of like it's, you know. It's a great issue. It's legitimately a great issue. Like Jenkins nails it, and it shows you how powerful like the relationship they have. Yeah. And like, and I love like that keeps that I just, the idea that, you know, the Hulk's a child, right? And so the whole idea of this glow of light, like he's mesmerized, and he feels safe around. I just love that. That's just just brilliant, right? Yeah. I'm trying to find this the double page spread of a Hulk. I thought I got everything, but I guess I didn't. No, God damn it. Forget it. Forget it. But there's a beautiful double page spread of like the history of the Hulk by Sienkiewicz. Yeah. And it's like, hell yeah, dude. Like it's so effing good. And just like, I just like the idea of like the character that is so misunderstood. He actually likes a hero. Like that's a very inspired idea, you know? Yeah. And it's, again, funny that I didn't even know this was even a thing until, but I do know they had a weird relationship, or a connected relationship, because Jenkins does write the Sentry again in a miniseries around the New Avengers, or around that era. And he brings the Hulk back. He brings that back into it, which I'll explain that before we leave. It is different a little bit, but also, freaking Greg Pak, for World War Hulk, has them duke it out. Oh, and dude, it's badass too. It's so rad. Like, by Jordan Romita Jr. does the art for that miniseries, and he goes balls to the wall, just boosh, 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 just like it, just kinetic and just brutal and rad as F. Like that is a great issue, and you see how powerful the Hulk is, and how powerful the Sentry is, and how like they like them going at it is like kind of like Doomsday and Hulk and Superman, like how they punch each other, and like there's like all, you know, the vibrations from it, but it's like even more intense than that. It's so rad. It's great. World War Hulk is low key great. Just gonna say it right now. I love that series. Anyway, so yeah, like the Sienkiewicz issue is good. The X-Men issue is fine. Spider-Man issues is whack. It's not. It's just weird.
Yeah, that one is a bummer because it's like those two artists I love, Rick Leonardi, and Terry Austin, and I was like, why is Terry Austin like not bringing it? I don't. he like never doesn't bring it, and then like it's kind of like lackluster, the inking in that. It's just not. It's just, but then the story is like it. I don't know. I just don't buy. That's the thing. I kind of didn't buy that like Spider-Man needed the Sentry to like teach him how to be brave or anything. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. It's that one's a little rings hollow. So overall, I'd give the Sentry miniseries if I'm giving it out of 5, I'd probably give it like a 3. 3 out of 5.
It's not bad. Like it's not bad to read. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
it's not.
I wasn't like pissed off while I was reading it or anything. Because like
the word. And I will say this. I definitely liked it more at first, and then as it went on, and pretty much right when it ends with like before the miniseries start, I was like, what? And then I'm like, wait, what? And then the ending really kind of pissed me off. I thought the ending was when the Void's like, we gotta get rid of the Sentry again. I'll leave it
of the
whole thing. Yeah. So again, if you guys want to know what I'm talking about, you'll see, because it's very contained, right? And so for those who don't know, like I'll try not to spoil everything.
Yeah,
I would say this is different than what we get eventually that Brian Bendis gives us in this.
Right. Okay. So this reminded me of
Go ahead.
that other that I had, but then also like, because that is definitely something I was wanting to talk to you about. I was like, so this other thing, I really feel like, I hate to say it, but I really feel like as presented, like if you just read the Sentry just book on its own, you're not thinking about extended stuff, I really feel like it should be an alternate universe thing. Like,
right.
I would have a lot of the problems I have with it would be completely gone if I'm like, oh, this is an alternate Marvel that's like almost the same as the one that I know, except it has this additional character. Like, because that is such a common thing in superhero stuff that it would just go down so much easier if it was like that. I think like, I don't even know if this was the intent, but like the way that it became was like, yeah, all this stuff that had never existed before, guess what? Now it exists. And you have to just put that in, like, if you're reading an old issue of Fantastic Four, you got to think about how just off panel they're hanging out with Bob, like, oh yeah,
Bob.
They fought the Mole Man, and now they're gonna like barbecue with Bob.
Oh my man, that okay, yeah. So
I don't love that.
Me neither. That sucked.
Yeah, but if it was purely an alternate universe thing, I think I would be like 20% more into it. So with that said, then I would please like give me as much info as you can about how this then becomes a regular part of the Marvel universe.
So basically, again, it's been a while since I've read it, and I meant to read it before, but life gets busy. If I remember correctly, basically the Sentry I want to say it's its own thing. It's not real. Like, so basically this is like all in his mind. I believe what happens is the Sentry exists and he gets brainwashed. I want to say by Mastermind, like literally the X-Men villain. Bendis brings in literally Paul Jenkins, the character, as a character, and is like a lot of his again. It's all in the New Avengers, like the original. After that's what I remember reading. Like, what the f? Because I was like, what is going on here? Because they bring in like he's this character, and they go, well, how did he get here? Kind of a thing. Like, no, like so all these things in his head. Like I want to say doesn't happen. Again, I don't remember, maybe not everything. Something like it's basically that I believe the miniseries is its own thing from what I remember. What I remember.
All right,
but but the miniseries that Paul Jenkins does that takes place around this, the Hulk comes in, they interact. So there is like a weird history. So I want to say like there's something I think there potentially, but I want to say it is like its own thing. It's not, it's separate. It's
You know
not
what's really funny about that is like, you know how we were talking about how this is kind of, it reminds us of other British comic
sure.
stuff. Like
Yeah.
you just described, I'm like, oh, that's exactly like the Grant Morrison Animal Man run.
Right.
Where
Right.
it all ends up like a vision that he has while he's like in a coma or something.
Yeah.
Like that's very similar. Which I guess that's like, I guess though, even though it's not the most original idea, it does give you a way to not have to fuck up everything and then the whole universe, and then you kind of get to have your cake and eat it too. I get it. So, you know,
I don't remember if it is truly its own thing, but I want to say a lot of his memories are implanted by Mastermind.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that because he thinks he kills his wife. I think that's because that's why he's in the Wrath at the first place in New Avengers, is that he thinks he kills his wife, and he voluntarily puts himself in.
See, I saw the dialogue there of he killed it. I was like, what? He kills his wife? Like, doesn't do
that.
That.
So I think either it's connected loosely, or it's not, or it's all. But I remember is that Paul Jenkins literally is brought in, and like he's all these comic books he wrote. Like they kind of use that to manipulate Bob, basically, and he's manipulated throughout the entire series or through his whole career, essentially, by he's being led by Captain America to Norman Osborn to. He never becomes his own man, and he's always struggling with the void as like this thing kind of, there is a cool part in New Avengers that's very infamous. I don't know if you remember hearing about this, but with Carnage, it's pretty cool. Like I thought. So, and Bendis, it's New Avengers is good. I like New Avengers. It goes off the rails around Civil War, but that's because Civil War kind of takes over and it has to like do all different things. But
Civil War.
Yeah, I like it more than most people, but yeah, I get it.
Never Civil War for what they did to Speedball, man.
Dude, I like Penance, man. I like Penance. I like it. But Speedball is so like he's so generic to me. Like to me, it makes it more interesting to have this this massively dark thing with this massively positive character. And to play off of that, there's really cool storytelling potential. I like the Penance character. I think it'd be cool to go between the two different versions, because to go through something so traumatic as Speedball and to live with that on your shoulders, you would have to have like dark time to like go into that whole idea, which I liked it because I was never a big Speedball fan. Besides, he's just like this, Steve Ditko made him like, like I think that's cool, but I like the Penance thing, but again, that's just my personal take. Let's see here.
Say like we should, because I think AJ's comment there, I'm like, that's probably is what they're gonna have to do. Like they're gonna have to either introduce like the Void as like a major Achilles heel that would keep him from being kind of like powerful enough to take on Doom, or something else, where it's like, it's whatever if you think about it, it's like there probably is like a similar strategy as they would have had to use with like Captain Marvel versus Thanos, because like she's supposed to be super, super powerful, but you have to find a way that it's like, well, yeah, sure. But like, there's this, and this in the story that keep that from happening until whatever, it's just like, it's just plot structures. But yeah, I think
totally.
Like,
totally. It just, and so Sentry like basically is like this overpowering, like almost like it's like your cavalry, if you will. Like they use him like that a lot. Like Norman, it's cool because Bendis in Dark Avengers really gets into the Void and like the dark side of the Sentry, which is, again, Dark Avengers is very good too. I think it's a pretty good series, and like in Sentry is very much like, like this weird, like he's off kilter, and like I think at one point when Norman introduces the Dark Illuminati, essentially, like he's like, okay, I'm gonna get like the White Queen, Loki, Taskmaster, a bunch of all these different, like Doctor Doom, Namor, all these different like people in the Marvel universe to like keep everyone in line. he like to keep everyone in line, he brings in like this weird thing where everyone's like, what the F is this? And it's the Void.
Oh, okay.
But you don't know it's the Void. It's really cool. And like he's basically like, if you don't get in line, this guy's gonna come in and destroy you. And it's pretty cool. Like there's really cool stuff in there, and so the Sentry is like, I am this good person. Norman told me that, and it's really like he's being controlled by the Void, and it's really cool. So there's really cool, there's really cool stuff they do, and I think Bendis really liked the idea of the Sentry, and he really taps into it. When he fractures the Avengers from Civil War, and he makes the Mighty Avengers, the Sentry goes there, and at one point, like the Sentry is just like, Dr. Doom doesn't deserve to be like free. He goes to Latveria and single-handedly takes Doom and imprisons him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Pretty dope. It's pretty dope. Like it's a great issue because the Avengers are like, oh, the Sentry just went. I think they just either
like we could do that this whole time.
Yeah, like the Sentry, either the Sentry like just voluntarily does it, or Iron Man like puts that in his head. Like it's one of those things, and the Sentry just goes, okay, whoop, grabs Doom, brings him back. They're like, like it's pretty awesome. Like I think it's awesome. So, the Sentry. So then like they kill him off, and eventually when Bendis like kind of like starts backing away from the Avengers in Siege, like they kill him off there. And then it's gonna blow your mind. You're not gonna know this. I'm gonna have you back on the show to read this because I was like, oh, what's this? A friend of mine, I'll just leave it there, just got free Marvel comics digitally for like forever. It felt like, so I would like read them, like I'd get on his account and like read a whole bunch. And I just saw the Sentry, and I'm like, oh, Sentry miniseries, kind of out of nowhere, right? I'm like, oh, what's this? Written by Jeff Lemire.
What?
Yeah, dude. And I was like, oh, Jeff Lemire, he's good. Like, I like Jeff Lemire. Dude, miniseries ripped.
Wow, okay.
So good. And he actually set up a great status quo of the Sentry.
Okay.
And then they just totally like forgot and just effed it. Like, I was effing pissed.
I hate
because dude, I'll just say this. Because I've already got you bought in for Lemire, right?
Yeah.
Remember that weird sidekick they introduced in the series that you don't ever hear about again?
Yeah.
He addresses it in that.
Nice. Okay.
Because I'm reading it, I went, oh, it's that guy. Oh, that's why Jeff Lemire adds like this random ass character that I have no idea is cooking in the middle of the freaking thing. Oh, he's addressing that whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So
cool.
No, it set up a great new Sentry version that they just totally like just forgot about and just were like, meh. It sucks because I don't want to reveal because you got to read it. It's cool. What he does, and I'm like, yeah, this is how you do the Sentry from now on. Like it's perfect. And then they kind of just whatever. So
at least that exists as its own thing.
Dude,
that's pretty cool.
I liked it so much I bought the trade straight up. Like I was like, dude, Lemire rips. I love Lemire. So I mean, he is awesome. So we'll read that eventually because it's definitely worth reading in my opinion.
Who's the artist?
It's someone I recognize off I have to look. I don't remember it being like, oh, this guy is all, it's kind of like art's not bad by any means. It just wasn't somebody a name. Yeah. So
I got you.
So for those, Sentry is just kind of this weird character that Marvel didn't really know what to do with after Bendis left, and he's still kind of, even Marvel now like put like a bunch of I read the first issue or first two issues. They have like a mini series where like the parts of the Sentry like go out to different people, like but not like so like they'll like one person gets a little bit, one person got a little bit, and that's what they kind of, I don't know what happened. It's something like that they were doing. I'm like, that's interesting. But I like Bob Reynolds. I want Bob. Give me Bob.
Yeah.
Give me the Sentry. Give me the Sentry. So
he's my best friend. He's the greatest guy of all time.
Yeah, he's the greatest guy of all time. He's the greatest superhero. So yeah, it's definitely worth reading. The art alone is just a look at.
If you want to just have 5 really nice Jay Lee issues to read, like this is a good way to do it.
Yeah, and Eric agrees with me. Pennis ruled. He did. He was one of the more interesting things post Civil War But again, if
you guys enjoy Penance all the live long.
I know, but if you're a diehard Speedball fan, which I could totally see you being one, I totally get why you hate Penance. I mean, totally get it.
When I was a kid, I was like picking out random issues of Speedball, out of like a quarter bin.
Oh yeah,
it's like what? How is there like this? Seems like it's so old, but it's like from the 80s, And I just loved this like weird little misfit Steve Ditko character, and like. I wasn't really like ever a huge New Warriors fan, so I could understand if he was like annoying in that or something. But,
sure,
like,
yeah.
But yeah, I love those. I love those old Ditko ones, and I was just like, I don't know. I think the Penance thing to me is like that's an example of like the British type of writing where I'm just like, get out of here, dude. Like where it's just like the most like. What's like dark and fucked up? Like, what if his costume like hurt him every time he bumped into anything? It's like that's the most dark and fucked up thing I can think of. Like, all right,
okay, dude. Really, really quick. Like it's yeah, dude. The Thunderbolts Warren Ellis stuff, dude. I'm telling you, he does a great. Penance. You have to look at Penance as a totally different character. Like he's not even Speedball, right? Like
that's fair.
And I think that is where, like, I want to say in one of the New Warriors series years later, after Civil War, Speedball was back, and I think it was Kyle Yost, who co-wrote Ragnarok, basically. With he's worked on a bunch of Marvel like scripts and things like he basically does like the basic script, and then like the punch ups by Taika is basically what that would be, funny stuff. Yeah. He's good comic writer. He's done some stuff I liked. He actually introduced the idea of like Speedball struggling with like, I'm Speedball, and then he all of a sudden like close the door and look at the mirror and he'd see Penance and like staring at him like it's like you are a failure, and he's like there's cool stuff there.
That's something,
that's what I'm saying. Like I think there's a really cool dynamic of Penance and Speedball coexisting in a very interesting way, which I was like, oh, it's really, but I don't think he ever got to explore that, which bummed me out because there's rich storytelling there. Cause I like Speedball, but I also like Penance. I think there's a way to marry them together and have them coexist, not like the same time, but like, if there's Gray Hulk and Green Hulk, there's Penance and Speedball.
Sure.
Kind of idea,
Yeah. Like different mental states represented.
Exactly. So
I have no issue with that. I don't know. There's a trope that is actually used in the Sentry, and that is pretty similar. It's basically the same thing as the Penance thing, where you to get some cheap like horror or pathos out of a comic story, you take like a secondary or a third tier character and you just do something really horrible to them.
Oh, absolutely. It's great. I love it.
I've got enough of it.
That's fair. That's fair.
The one in Sentry where it shows this like European team of Avengers.
Yeah. Dude, that European team kind of ripped. And I was like,
dude, don't just kill all these characters off. Like these are cool. Like that's the problem is like, I always like, I love those weird little characters.
Me too.
And that's what always attracted me to superhero comics was just like there's a million weird little characters. Like that is so fun. I can like learn about like 2,500 different action figures, and so there's a version I like. We were talking earlier about Justice League International. Like they kind of do that with the Global Guardians, which was like a basically the same thing, like an international team of superheroes that was originally introduced in like Super Friends. So it's not like it has a deep history, but they were cool too. And they introduced this whole thing where the team has corrupted and, some of those characters are dying off, but yeah, I just think it's not a bad idea, but I just think it's been done so much.
That's fair.
That it lost the impact and it just seems cheap to me now.
Yeah.
So both of those things, like the scene in Sentry with like that European team, and then the Penance thing, they both feel like they're in that.
That's fair. That's fair. By the way, I don't know what Annihilation Scourge is. So
it must be from like the same thing that introduced the new Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Wasn't that Annihilation?
Well, it was, but I'm familiar with the Annihilation wave and all that stuff. Like, which was a really fun. That's another binge episode we have to do. That's a great binge too. No, this is post. This must be like the third one or something like that, because there's Annihilation Conquest, and that was with Ultron and everything, and then this must be later on. So Eric, if you're still watching, let me know if I'm right on that. So, so yeah, man, like I'm glad I read it. You know, I'm glad you liked it more this time too. I love we both got the Miracle Man vibe from this. Yeah. It totally was like there.
It definitely was like, man, I should bust out my old Miracle Man issues.
word. I freaking love. I mean, I have a Miracle Man shirt. I have a poster. I love Miracle Man. He's got problematic creators, but but who doesn't?
He's not though. Not really.
He's not, but he's also.
I mean, he wrote some like weird stuff that you could argue about.
Lost Girls, enough said.
Yeah, that's pretty much right. But there's never been any allegations. It's interpersonal.
No, there's no at least for that, Zach. At least there's no crazy allegations like that are awful. So he's just he's instead of just being an awful piece of shit, he's just a despicable piece of shit. Like
I don't know. I just think he's just like a pervert. Like, but that doesn't make you despicable. It just
no. I say despicable not because of that, but because he's just grumpy. You know, he's just like I hate everything.
It's kind of like superhero comics.
It's stupid. he's like
I mean,
just all.
The thing is, like, usually when he's saying that stuff, like, I'm like, he's kind of right. He's kind of spitting, but it's just like it's stuff that a lot of fans don't want to hear.
Well, what I don't like is when he tries to diminish the medium, and he talks about how like I get what he was saying. Like this, we'll wrap up after I say this, but like, and if I'll let you kind of have last word on it too. But I really took offense to him when he was like, back comics were like back in the day were meant for like low income people, and it's just like it's like and again, I don't think he's wrong, but he was acting like it's all it was, and it's all it is, and it's all it should be, and that's when I was like, fuck off, more like you're just bitter, like because this is the same person who's like, they wanted me to write a sequel to Watchmen and I refused and blah 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 this, and it's like
I support him on that one.
and I get it, but he bitches and moans when he doesn't want, but he wants the rights for it. They're like, okay, we'll give you the rights, but if you can do this, he's like, no. It's like, dude, you can't have everything, man. Like that's the thing that pisses me off about him. He's a brilliant writer. He's one of my favorite comic writers. I just don't like him as a person. He's just so proud. That's what I don't like.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, I took that what you're talking about, where he's talking about what comics used to be for and all that, and I took that in a different way of like because he was one of those people. I totally get it. He's not like a posh dude, he didn't come from money or anything. Yeah. So in that way, I was thinking of it. It's more like a class solidarity thing. Like he felt like that comics have lost a kind of a way that they used to speak to like the common man. And I don't think it's like necessarily like looking down on it, but he's just sort of like, I think, and the thing is with that dude, it's like, I think he's understandably bitter from
I totally get it. Yeah.
A lot of mistreatment over the years from his employers. Like, I think it's like inarguable. Like, I don't know. I feel bitter towards many employers I used to have.
That's fair.
I can only imagine if you're on like this global level, and it's just like, it's a lot of, it would be very difficult to deal with a lot of that stuff. And maybe he doesn't deal with it in the best way. Like I would acknowledge that. And he's like a difficult person for sure, but
no. Yeah. And I think, this is actually a great episode for Eventualists to talk about, because there's a lot, because I do think there's, if you listen to Rob Liefeld talk about Alan Moore, which he loves Alan Moore. Mm-hmm. And you hear him like, just like any situation, there's two sides to every story.
Absolutely.
And like, I definitely feel that like he, again, goes on like, well, I this, that, and this, and that, and because again, go back to the whole Watchmen thing where you talk about, they said, okay, you can own the characters once it goes out of print. Right. DC unintentionally didn't realize, what was going to happen.
Popular it was going to be.
Yeah. And then Moore was like, you screwed me. And it's like, well, not, because again, they didn't expect to be the best selling graphic novel of all time, and so every time, and again, DC's a corporation. I get it. And so like, again, this is a great conversation for us to have eventually, because I do feel like there's, because when I hear him talk, all I hear is bitterness, and like in the whole like comic thing about the the scale of like the people. I totally get that, and I totally agree with that. The problem is that comics, any medium, is going to transcend the class it's a part of over time, depending on, or it could decrease it, or it could go depending on whatever the time is, right?
Yeah.
You can't hold that against the medium itself, but again, he's who runs the medium at that point? Marvel and DC. That's all there is.
I think that's the problem, is that like it shrunk so much, and it's just like, I think he's just like looking at, when he was a kid, it felt like a golden age of like you go down to the newsstand and there's like a bunch of stuff that you can get for like 10 pence or whatever, and that has all gone away, and it's only in specialty shops, and it's more, so it's like I don't know. I think I definitely can see the other side of things with like Watchmen, where it's like, they probably really were not really intending to screw him over. It's just like, this was a runaway success that nobody could have predicted.
No one predicted. Yeah, no, his talking about it in depth and him as a person definitely helps me like want to read his stuff more. Cause there's sometimes I hear him talking, I'm like, I never want to read an Alan Moore comic again. I love Alan Moore.
Yeah.
Cause I'm just like, just shut the hell up.
For me though, is that like, you can never say he doesn't have integrity. Like,
that's fair.
He could be a total asshole, but like, I respect that he never lost his integrity, and like, really, he never sold out. Which like doesn't really mean anything anymore. No one cares about that concept anymore, but it still matters to me. So I'm like, I respect that.
No, I respected him more for it until like he got pissed at Dave Gibbons and was like, he's gone. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like he's a difficult person. Right. That's the thing that sucks. It's like, you're like, yeah, you're right. That's badass. He's like, I don't want any of my royalties from these movies because they're not my like. I was like, okay,
that's tight.
Fuck. Like, I get it, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, fuck Dave Gibbons, ballless. I'm just like, dude, shut the hell up. Like, you're just getting too.
That was your movie, man.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, okay, that's when I know it's like there's like. That's a whole different thing. So that's about
it more. Someday.
Yeah. No, Alan Moore is not just a show. It's a fucking series, So, as far as like his whole thing, but no, listen, that being said, I fucking love Alan Moore stuff for the most part. Like,
it's some of the most mind expanding shit that you could read, and
fuck yeah, dude.
You could access it as like a 12-year-old and as like a 75-year-old,
exactly
in between. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah, definitely. You've given me a lot of ideas today, and definitely seriously, Zach, if you do end up watching Thunderbolts and you want it and you're like, Sentry, like, go. I know for a fact it's on. I think I looked it up on Hoopla once. Cool. It's on there. Go look. It's self-contained.
Yeah,
it's like 4 or 5. It's like really quick, but it's definitely, if you like the Sentry at all, if you're fans, right? I mean, like, you're not like anti-Sentry,
no,
dude.
Like, this is definitely good enough where I would be like, oh, I want to see another, another writer that I like do their take.
Yeah. So go check it. Go check that out. For those who are, this is Sentry miniseries, a bunch of other one shots, and a Sentry versus Void comic book. But you can go, and I told Zach, you don't have to buy it, homie. You can just go on Hoopla, which is a local library system for reading comics digitally. Go on there, y'all. It's free comics, basically. Just go. It's perfect.
If you don't have Hoopla, there might be like another version of it in your local area. So like, look at your local library site, like whatever it is.
Okay.
Like, use those resources, because
awesome.
Yeah, it's got movies, it's got TV shows, it's got a lot.
Dude, Hoopla is like comics' best kept secret, dude. It's amazing. I got like when me and Angshuman from For the Love of Comics did our exchange for, he gave me some mega artsy stuff, and I gave him like Craven's Last Hunt, which is somewhat artsy.
Yeah.
He gave me Day Tripper, and I was like, I don't want to buy Day Tripper. I just went on Hoopla, read it. It was great. So I mean, it's
Canopy was the other streaming thing I was.
Yeah, it's Canopy is kind of like more extreme, like television and that kind of stuff. But Hoopla has all that stuff too, plus books and comics and stuff like that. So Yeah, so Zach, thanks again for coming on and doing this, man.
Yeah, man.
This is so rad. Like,
Really fun.
we blew through an hour. No, I know, dude.
Yeah.
Me and Zach could kill this thing easy in 40 minutes. I knew it'd be over an hour.
We could
so
keep going.
yeah, we could go for a long time. Tangent City for us.
Hell yeah.
Do you have any promotion stuff you want to promote? Like anything out there you want to get out there for people?
I guess if you're in Seattle, I'm doing a comedy show in August at
that's right.
Hereafter. Yeah, a really good comedian, Milan Patel, that kind of me and like my crew of comedy buddies used to do shows with. He's like in LA now, and he's doing some big stuff with Netflix. But whenever he comes back to town, we usually do a show with him. So it's called Milan Patel and Enemies, and it's at the Hereafter in August. I don't know the date, but yeah, it's a great venue, and the last show we did like last year was really fun. So I think this will be a good one.
Thank you, Eric. Eric's always very appreciative. I'm always very appreciative. Eric is awesome. Yeah, which obviously me and Morgan and all of us will be out there for that show for you guys. So that'd be super fun. Yeah, and so go see Thunderbolts this weekend. I'm excited to go see it. I'm actually super excited to read it or see it. I hate putting stock in stuff like Rotten Tomatoes, but it's got a 95% right now with 42 reviews in.
That's pretty good.
Critics are heavily brutal on Marvel stuff. And rightfully so right now. I don't begrudge them, but this movie always seemed pretty good, and this a star power alone with Florence Pugh and Sebastian Stan, I think is just you can't deny it. So I'm excited. Next month we've got lots of great stuff as always. We have Kingdom Come. We're finally doing that for the Superman show. Nice. Super stoked. I got my absolute. I'm gonna bang that out finally. Super excited. Knights Never Die. We're doing a review of Thunderbolts next week, and then your favorite, Mark Miller's. I know, dude. Fantastic Four run.
Oh, I didn't even know about that one.
Yeah, it predates. It's right before Hickman.
Oh,
it's a run right before Hickman. I remember being like, I liked it then, and I was like. When I got to Hickman, I'm like, what the F is this? This is slow and boring. And so I remember my comic
charts.
Yeah. Why are there so many reads and they just talk to each other the whole time? And my comic store being like, Gabe at the time was like, what are you talking about? Supposedly the best Marvel comic out there. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, and everyone was like raving about it. It took me a bit to get warmed up to it, but I liked Miller stuff, dude. It was good. And
you have to check out that episode, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I have to hear back from Curtis still, but Curtis did the Falco episode we did recently, and that was a blast. And I don't think he read it yet, and so he was like, "Oh, so he's kind of like you. He's not really a big Miller fan, I don't think." So, listen, I liked it then. I still like it now. It's not bad. It's tropey for sure, but. And I need to figure out how I feel about this. The Masters of Doom.
Okay.
Meaning his teachers.
Okay.
So like he introduces like he was a pupil of these dudes.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that. I remember being like, that's a pretty tricky thing.
Yeah. Doom's origin is so well defined at this point, and even with like revisions and stuff, it's pretty laid out. So it's very interesting to try to put some new stuff into it. But I want to check out that episode now. Yeah,
dude, I won't lie. Like I remember back then, I wasn't mad. I always was a big Doom fan. So I haven't got quite there to explain it yet. So we'll see how I feel in the episode. But it's fun. The FF run is fun, so it's not bad. I'm curious what Curtis thinks. So anyway, go check that out. That's all me all next month. All right, Chris isn't here, so I'm gonna say it for him. Read more comics, Zach. Please read more comics. I know you do.
Hey, I'll be doing it tonight.
Atta baby. All right, everyone, have a good night. Go